And welcome. It's Tuesday, and I love Tuesdays. So we are doing a little something today called Stall Talk. It is a weekly talk show, all for the betterment of your horse. And I'm excited. We're celebrating. This is episode 20 of Stall Talk. We've been going for 20 weeks in a row now, and every week I learned something new throughout this process as the conversations begin to unfold, as we take a closer look and a deeper dive into why our horses aren't working, or if they're working, how do we go to the next level? Do you feel like you're plateaued in some way? Do you feel stagnant? Do you feel stifled, literally or, theoretically? Where do you feel stalled with your horse? There's usually much more to it when we stop and think. So this week, we're going to talk about the top 3 questions you need to be asking for better results with your horse. If you want better performance from your horse, these are the top 3 questions that you should be asking. And quite frankly, I wish someone had taught me this years ago. It would have saved me so much time and heartache. And yes, of course, a ton of money that I felt like I wasted over the years in entry fees, vet bills, fuel, tires, insurance, all of the investment, right, that comes along with having a dream with your horse and wanting to be the best you can be. So I know you guys can relate. If you're watching on Facebook, YouTube, another channel, welcome to Stall Talk. We are sponsored by lifeenthusiast.com. There will be a link provided when you want to learn more. This week is going to be more of a roundtable type discussion. Julie Castaneda is here again. She's the author of Dog Church. And Julie, man, you just ran off with it last week. I so enjoy listening to you and hearing the parallels and hearing you connect the dots between training dogs, training horses, and training people. And training is not our favorite word, right? So let's change that word to coaching. How's your week? Julie, are you at a place where you have audio and video? I sure hope you do. Are you able to unmute for us? Lori's working on it. Lori Roth from Nacogdoches, Texas. We can't do these Zooms without her because she's our moderator. While we're waiting on audio, I want to talk about why we're going over the top 3 questions. I enjoy audiobooks. I've never really been an academic person. I certainly wasn't when I was younger because my brain was always thinking about the barn. I wanted to be with my horses. I didn't want to sit through school. I didn't want to go to college. In my family, it wasn't a choice. My dad and my grandmother basically said, we don't care what you do, pick something, you're going. So I'm very thankful that my family pushed me. It wasn't until later in life that I actually enjoyed becoming a reader because I enjoyed the results. But I was a hard sell and I really put it off for a lot of years. I've been listening to an audiobook, and yesterday, in fact, while I was working horses, I'm listening to this author, and he's talking about the main question that most people ask is how? How do I do this thing? Ronnie Clampett, he coaches for us every Friday night in the Stall High Mentor program. And he says, people are always coming up to him. How do I get my horse to turn the first barrel? How do I get my horse to lower his head? How do I do this? How do I do that with my horse? How can I? Well, this author comes in yesterday. I'm listening while I'm riding my horse, and he says, how is the first question? And it's actually the easiest question to answer. Don't get stuck at how. How's easy. Anybody can find the answer to how. It's when we learn to ask the next question, why? Why? Instead of how can I get my horse to speed up around the turn? Instead, we need to ask, why is my horse slow around the turn right now? Because when you can understand the why, that is more sustainable. You won't only reach your breakthrough, but you can keep your breakthrough, and you can rinse and repeat. You can take what you learned through that one problem barrel, and you can learn to break through. We're happy to teach you. We're happy to teach you the how, but what we're most interested in at Stall High is explaining the why. Why isn't it working right now? What do you need to know so that it will work, and so that it is repeatable success, so that you can rinse and repeat the success for every horse that you own for the rest of your life? That is sustainable. That is that's setting you up for a longer, more successful career in the sport. And maybe you don't necessarily view your riding as your career. Maybe you're happy going to an occasional event or leisurely riding on the weekend. That's fine. Not all of us have to have the dream to be, the best in the world, win the gold buckle or the world championship title. That's fine. It doesn't matter what path or what level you're on. We want to equip every rider with the information they need to understand the why. And then my third question I'm going to save for further into this discussion. Do we have audio for Julie yet?
I think she may, and if not, if she has, I'm going to ask her to unmute, but if she doesn't, she is just a minute or two away from having Wi-Fi.
Can you hear me?
There
Hello.
we go.
Anybody? Can anybody hear me? Hello?
Yes, we can hear you.
Oh, good. I'm glad I didn't start rattling the ABCs.
All right, I'm glad we got our audio connection fixed. So I was just kind of leading into, how is the easiest question? So we really need to get past that real quick and get into the why. Why is a thing not working? What do I need to know so that I understand it? Just knowing the answer isn't really enough, not if you expect to be at the highest level of competition. I'm curious what your initial thoughts are on this topic today.
It looks like she lost audio again.
Martin, I'm going to toss it to you. Martin Patella, life enthusiast.
Good morning. Sorry, I've had a bit of a disaster on my end too. And
my.
I just showed up late. I had some customer service problems that I had to deal with, and my, spinning tables, plates.
I get it.
Yeah. So sorry, I didn't hear your intro, so therefore I don't know what the heck you're talking about.
So this week, I want to talk about the top 3 questions we should be asking ourselves for better performance with our horse. And I heard an author yesterday say that how is the easiest question to answer. We can know how a thing functions. We can know how to fix something, but unless you understand why it broke in the first place, you won't be able to take that result past the right now. You won't make full use of it. And that's what we really want to do at Stall High, is really comprehend and equip our riders with all of the information so that they don't get stuck in a stall. Constant cycle of problems without answers. What's your thought on how versus why?
Critical, absolutely critical. Of course, when I try to explain life to people, it's like, well, never mind all the vitamins that you're thinking of taking. Get your spirituality in order, like figure that out. And then once you understand your direction in the world, and when you have the relation with your perhaps creator or whatever, your higher self, call it whatever you want, right? Like some people want to be non-spiritual about it, but they still are non-religious about it. I don't care whether you are wanting to call your God one of the 5 major world religions or something else. It's all fine. We all have a need for transcendence. We all are seeking some meaning in life. And we find meaning Well, I'd say this: happiness is found in the pursuit of a worthy goal.
Okay, that's what you're picking up what I'm putting down. I think you may have already listened to this author, because he used a quote from Muhammad Ali, and he said, when you're fighting for a cause, you'll never lose. And our cause, like, we have many ways to say it. We're taking a stand for lighter hands. We're speaking up for the horse. Last week, Julie said, why is the industry ignoring the silent screaming of body language?
Right on.
They're overlooking it because they're looking for the how. How can I get my horse's head down? How can I get my horse to speed up? How can I get my horse to load in the trailer? But they're not thinking, they're not digging deeper to understand the why. And that's why I feel like people feel like they're in a perpetual stall of being stuck in frustration.
Yeah, Stephen Covey had a wonderful method. He would put 4 quadrants on the screen, and
Okay.
on one lane he would put easy or hard, and on the other lane he put important or side issue.
Okay.
And he would say, you need to be in the right quadrant.
Yeah.
And which is the stuff like easy and pleasurable. That's entertainment.
Mm-hmm.
We can do that all day long, but we don't accomplish much. We need to
Mm.
invest, right? We need to invest in the integrity, in the relationship and whatever. And some of the stuff is easy, but some of it is not. But we need to do the hard stuff. Like, for example, me talking to you, if we were in a relationship, I would want to be checking in with you and making sure that you're right. And I would be showing up for you, even if it's not easy for me, but it's important to you.
Mm.
I would be, I don't know, in a simple household relationship, I would be doing the dishes without asking.
Right. And really, I think that's another gap that Stall High fills for people when they feel like they don't get that support at home, either from their family, their loved ones, their closest friends. That's another thing that Stall High brings to the table, that sense of community support, and especially within the mentor program, because we're in communication 5 nights a week on a live class. We've got a different coach coming in to share their life's expertise.
Right.
And there's very much a support system. You don't feel like you're riding alone anymore.
Yeah.
And it makes a difference. It's making a difference in my life. And it motivates me more every day to go put a saddle on my horse. Let's
Right.
see
So that's the
what results we're gonna get.
Yeah, so that's the human side of the relationship, but you're going to have that relationship with your riding partner called horse,
Mhm.
right? Or you will have that relationship with your walking partner called dog or something like that, right? Where you can always exert power over, you can beat the heck out of the thing and make it submit, right? Like you will just break the character. You can do that to a child, right? You can create a human child that lives in fear and grows up to be a miserable wreck, emotional disaster, a catastrophe waiting to happen.
Well, that is a parallel with what we see happening with horses, quite frankly.
Exactly.
People are practicing horsemanship, thinking it is horsemanship.
It's a
And
beautiful
it's
word.
really not.
Yeah.
All right, Leanna Ray, you made it. Do you have audio? I'm so excited that you're with us.
Yeah. Okay. I'll go quiet. Billy, take it over.
Leanna was a guest on Stall Talk when we first started. She comes from the background of neuroscience. She loves horses. We're becoming dear friends with Leanna and just are so blessed to have you in our lives.
I feel the same. I think the thing that you said about community was incredibly important. And just listening a little bit to, I'm so thankful I got to hear Martin, because talking about that sense of meaning, Viktor Frankl did some beautiful writing and some research on the gift of what creating meaning allows us to do. And I think we are meaning making experiences and human beings. And so it's important to talk about these topics that you're bringing up. It's so important, vital, actually, especially in my world.
Okay, so the third question I want to talk about today, and this, I didn't even realize this held me back. Like I wasn't cognizant of how much that negative loop that broken record just played in my mind all day, all day, all day. So this author said, here's the next question you need to ask yourself to break out of that negative self-talk loop. Why not? Why not me? Why not? Why can't I accomplish these things? What's missing? It's not necessarily what's wrong with your horse. What is missing in your horse? What's missing in the relationship or in your own understanding of a thing? Why it's not working? How is it going to work? And then ask, why not? So, Leanna, this is your field.
Well, I think, it's interesting because I think anybody that's attracted to having a relationship with a horse has that innately, right? And then, but sometimes we have to acknowledge that our own history, or we don't have enough support in our own environment to really tap into that. And I think what you're talking about is the power of language and how language can create and shape meaning, how language resonates in our bodies, right? The whole concept of, if I go to anyone and you're having a challenge, but you can't feel your support, the capacity for our nervous systems to defragment, to disorganizing is incredibly high. I like those kinds of questions that you're asking is those questions that to me go to that edge of challenge and support. If that makes sense. It's like we can challenge ourselves, but if we can't feel or sense ground or our support, that challenge is going to overwhelm our nervous systems. So can questions, right? So the why questions begin to bring up all of these, what's missing. The brain begins to kind of scan around us. In fact, in particular, it's our reticular activating system that begins to scan all the way around us and go, what is missing? And then it equates to, I don't have enough. And then you're going to begin to panic. And then your nervous system is going to go into fight, flight, freeze, or fawn. And then there you go. But if you ask the question, why not me? Right? That question right there. And there's so much beautiful research on this. It begins to perturbate. It begins to touch into our curiosity. And curiosity can actually change the whole energetic field of and resonance that's within us and between us.
Yes. Now that I am part of Stall High, okay, it has changed my life drastically. I look back over the years when I was literally trying so hard. I was a woman of faith, very strong faith, but things were not working in the natural. Things just fell apart every day with my horse. It was a constant struggle to keep him sound, to keep me healthy, to keep our finances up. And I mean, it's hard getting in the top 15 and sustaining that rank for a full season to get, to the highest level of competition and a chance to win a gold buckle is hard work. Like Matt Reeves says, it is a lifestyle change. It's a lifestyle commitment. But I've made it so much harder on myself without even knowing. I was not curious. I didn't see a problem as an opportunity. I saw a problem as devastating. Like, here's another blow. Here's another thing coming my way. Rugs getting pulled out from under our feet. I guess this just isn't meant for me. Oh, me, pity party. And today I'm like, you know what? I'm a lot older now than I was back then. And I don't even care.
It's the gift of aging, it is. Yeah.
It is fun to be curious. It is fun to learn, like, oh, that's why I felt that way. That's why that horse on to me. That's why I wasn't able to sustain that rank for a full year. Now it makes sense. I just didn't know enough at the time.
Yes, absolutely. And with that sense of curiosity and resilience are highly connected. In fact, the research is that we know, and this is Dr. Ed Tronick's work. If anybody wants to go, and he's got a book out. It's quite marvelous. And his whole theory that he was able to explore and prove, and continues to do more exploration, because these questions are investigative questions, right? They lead to a living, ongoing conversation within ourselves. But that resiliency is not in the perfection of experiences. That resiliency is found in the process of rupture and repair. And that we only have to be in what's called attunement 25% of the time. And the rest of our relationships between our animals, between human beings, is actually rupture and repair. And that's what creates resiliency. And that's a powerful concept to, I mean, I have to take it in pretty much on a daily basis, because even as a mom, I'm kind of like, oh my gosh, I just ruptured, but I have to always remind myself it's in the repair. So we go out of attunement, but it's the process of coming back into attunement, back into relationship and connection, that actually makes us more resilient and stronger.
That is profound.
Yeah, Dr. Ed Tronick, bless him.
We could talk 2 years on that.
Yeah.
And it seems like there's a constant give and take with a horse relationship and communication. There's a constant coming back into what you call attunement. Like, let me
Yes.
get back centered. Let me get back in the rhythm, because you will lose it if you're not paying attention.
You will. And actually, it's so what Dr. Ed Tronick says is it's natural to lose it. And the thing about it is, though, is to have the awareness. So here's the thing. I'm a human being. And if I'm in the round pen and doing groundwork and my kid starts to cry, guess what I'm going to, because he's just 7, I'm going to go out of attunement, because neurobiologically my body goes, wait a minute. Now, the fullness of that, though, is I can come back into attunement. I can look at that horse and go, you're right. I sense danger. I had to shift here to attend, but I'm right here, right back with you. And I think I just saw, and I'm sorry, because I couldn't find my new glasses. So I have I have 2 prescription go glasses.
Shelley just made a great comment. She said, how many people quit at the rupture?
That right there. Absolutely. And you quit because you blame yourself, or you go into this, why, this self beating on yourself, on your horse, whatever that is, right? That why did the rupture happen? And oh my gosh, this was terrible. It's I messed up, and you get stuck in there. But what the research shows is this moment right here, the repair is what's going to build resiliency, and you actually get excited about the repair. Or at least now I
have a question. Well, sort of
Go ahead.
I'd like to add to the discussion, because I was just having a discussion about something that's, I think, directly related to this. So you're talking about rupture and repair and your attunement, which is how you react to some other people or situations, right? And so, like, seriously, what you're saying is profound. And I think it should be considered, like, our process. Like Shelley said, how many people quit at the rupture, right? They either they flight, they go into flight. They're like, I'm out, I'm done. So it's so much about figuring out the healthy way, right? Well, you've got to learn and implement healthy ways of, the repair, how to repair things, how to reset and get back to your attunement. And the conversation I was having the other day has to do with how so many of us don't realize, or it takes us a long time to realize, that the way we handle situations, our response and our ability to repair, is directly related to how we were brought up. How was conflict or rupture handled in your household? And I think all of that is also applicable to our animals. How do you handle what's going on with your animals? And so really the pursuit is to find, to kind of identify things within yourself that are maybe not healthy, or not allowing you to get through that repair phase, and learning a healthy way to repair and get back to attunement.
I love it.
Beautifully said.
Thanks, Lori. Martin, you were going to say something.
Yeah, I wanted to butt in with the following. In the management consultancy practice that I was in back when, we did personality styles indicators, where we had actually understood that humans are not identical. There's the attraction toward or withdrawal from. Some people are wired to attack as their response. Others are wired to revert or pull back as a response. Some people will find fault externally, while others will find fault internally. Like, the focus of their attention is either out there or in here. Some people will seek approval from out there. Others are certain in themselves. That those are all these different options that you have, and you may be wired differently. So, for example, a problem arises, and some people will say, well, what's wrong with me? And another person will just not even clue that. What's wrong with you? And another one will attack it from a position of superiority. I'm better than this. I'm definitely above the horse. He will yield to me. Right?
Well, we
Instead of
definitely
speaking-
need that mentality being applauded in our
Oh,
sport
yeah,
today.
of course. It's the easiest thing, power over militaristic mindset. Let's just punch the heck out of them. They'll yield. That's the John Wayne, man. And of course, there's the opposite extreme of that, right? The server.
Can I butt in too?
Yes, Julie, go ahead. Your dog was agreeing, I
Well,
think.
So this is Ellie. Ellie
Hi, Ellie.
is not going to. So here's the thing. Got this dog just a few hours ago. So I rescued her from the shelter. Someone called me about her. So she flew through all of the assessment and scored the way we need her to score. Her future is to be a PTSD dog for a soldier in Colorado Springs. But as soon as she left that environment, all the stressors came. So at one point she was stressed about being in that environment. And then that became something she could predict. And there is quite a system there, right? So it was easy for her to follow. And now she's only 5 months old. She's back out in the world. She's with someone she barely knows. And we are in the rupture phase. And the point I want to make is I get it. And I'm going to say to her, hey, I'm with you. Even if you're not with me, I'm right here for it. I'm here for all of it. And she will eventually come back to me. But right now she's looking at this environment here. She was barking at a dog that she just saw. And me trying to put something in her brain is not going to work. She's not in a place where she can receive it because she is in stress mode. And she's, I guess my point is I could punish this dog. I know a lot of trainers that would be like, nope, you can't. This is how it has to be. And we ruin a perfectly good dog. But this is a long process. And she's 5 months old and she's doing fine. But I have to understand that she's a dog and this is how she's going to do it. And I can't make it be about me. I don't feel less of a trainer because my dog's not hooked up with me right now. She won't even look at me. Like she's like, I do not understand what's happening. She's panting with no need to be panting because it's not warm out. But it's my job as the trainer to recognize that until she comes back to homeostasis, like we're not going to go anywhere. I have to give her the time, find her way, and she will come back to the relationship.
You just liberated thousands of people with their horses because, and I've done it, I fell into that stall, that trap of making it about me. I took our messed up barrel pattern as my identity and I left humiliated. I couldn't get to the truck fast enough. I needed to get out of there and I just wanted to go home and cry and never go back to another rodeo again because it was about me. And that's what now we talk about this in class, and it's taken a lot of pressure off people to say, this is more about your horse and developing your horse and allowing that horse to hold a mirror up in love, not in criticism. But like Martin said, this is an opportunity to self-reflect, not beat yourself up, but look inside. What is missing? What is in my power, my authority, my capability to change today? And typically the most powerful changes are in our mind. It starts in the mind first, and then it can manifest the muscles and the patterns. But wow, you said a lot. A horse or a dog in stress mode cannot receive the information. It's not going to stick anyway.
Goes for kids in a classroom too.
Okay.
The brain just can't The brain just is not ready to learn when it's stressed. That's not the time to learn. It's the time to fight or run or hide. It is not the time to learn. So you have to give them some space.
Bailey's got a good comment. This kind of explains why we get so frustrated with horses when we haul away from home. They hit the rupture button.
Mhm.
We don't help them and handle their rupture in the right way to get them to come back and be confident. Leanna, gonna hand the mic to you.
Oh, yeah, no, I think what everyone is saying is so profound. And like you said, these are the kinds of things that we'll be talking about from here until, I mean, you know, until we're not here, till we're called home, because this is essential to human relationships and to our relational world. And everything is interconnected and everything is relational. It's just kind of, it is how we are wired. We are wired to connect. And and it's so interesting because, what she was saying about, you know, the dog was fine in a certain environment, right? In the world of what we call in the attachment world, she's right now in that car being a secure base. She is there ready to be found. That consistency, that secure base, the ability to be found again, that's what heals. That's what brings repair, right? Also, too, what we know about the repair process is that we don't have to be in a perfect state of calm. One of the biggest myths of regulation and in terms of co-regulation and self-regulation is that you need to be in a calm. And what we know through neuroscience is that really there are going to be scenarios where it would be biologically weird if we were calm. I would be like, wait a minute, what I'm seeing here is a faux window of tolerance. A faux window of tolerance is going to be any animal or person that is compliant or that has figured out the structure, but they're not able to take that within themselves and carry that safety within themselves to a different environment. And then we see it all fall apart.
There you go. Oh my gosh. So you're hitting a bullseye with horse training because you hit it. Compliant.
Yes.
They're compliant right now, but are they under stress or duress? Are they really receiving the information enough to comprehend the why? They know how to
Yes.
turn barrel, but they don't know why to.
Absolutely.
Hey, it's
100%.
It's one of the reasons that we have so many dog bites is because we punish the language that says I'm uncomfortable, and dogs won't bite if a growl will do, right? So when I see a dog that growls at something and then it gets punished for the growl, all you do is suppress the growl, but you don't change the dog's mind about what it's bothered about. And eventually the threshold of tolerance gets crossed because they are just compliant until they can't be compliant. And it's always okay until it's not okay. So we end up with a dog that bites because it's not allowed to growl. And owners take them around and think they're fine because they're not growling. But I want the dog to talk to me. I want to know what I have in front of me. I want to know what behaviors I'm trying to modify. And, you know, we do a lot to shape behavior, to give the dog the opportunity to choose the right thing or give them alternate behaviors. And I think the same is true with horses, although I have not, you know, had a lot of opportunity to, you know, take my horse to a lot of different places, but we certainly practice it at home in shaping certain behaviors. I want to know what you're afraid of. I don't necessarily I want to give my horse other behaviors besides freaking out, you know? So it's that fine line between don't look at that thing that's scaring you and you can look, but we still have to stay busy. We still have to do the work.
Mm-hmm. So good. This is good. This is going to help a lot of people. And training, some people, I think, because they are still viewing their horse as recreation, they don't realize they're a trainer. They don't realize they're either leading or they're not. Julie, do you agree?
Yeah, absolutely. I tell people that all the time when they're like, well, I'm not really a trainer. It's like they're never not learning. So you are responsible for the teaching of whatever it is you're teaching. And, you know, we talked about that last week. Well, you're training your horse or your dog how to respond. So it's not responding the way that you want it to. You better look at yourself and find out what you did to condition that response.
Yeah, my point here would be, who is the adult in the room? Right? Who's the daddy or who's the mommy? Who is the grown-up here that's responsible for the outcome? Like, you don't get to train your 3-year-old. How do I best put it? No, you are training your 3-year-old, and you're getting the response that you're amplifying.
Mhm. We had a similar discussion at the dinner table last night. Oh man, this is good. Really good. So if anyone's listening, whether you're listening right now on one of the live streams or whether you catch this replay at some point in the future, I hope that you are getting information that we're causing you to just stop and rethink your horse's problem today, or if you feel like you don't know how to go to the next level. I spoke with someone yesterday. I did a review my ride, and it was a great review. I had so much fun with this video review. And she said, I feel like I'm the queen of the 2D, but I don't know if this horse has any more. Well, I see at least 0.2 of a second, at least minimum 0.2 of a second. But again, I think you said a really important word, Julie. You are responsible. We are responsible, whether you call yourself a trainer or not, whether you realize you're training or not. There's an old saying that says, any moment you're in the saddle, you're doing one of 2 things. You're either training or untraining your horse. And I've used something similar over the years to say, any given moment, this is how serious I take it as someone who made a living competing with and selling horses. At any given moment that you're riding, you're doing one of 2 things. You're either adding value to your horse or you're taking it away. Take it serious. Pay attention. You don't have to spend a lot of money to succeed and have a good relationship with your horse, but you do have to pay something, and that is attention. Martin? Your audio's off. Hit your mic, please.
Thank you. Well done. You're right. You're on. It's the willingness to be coachable that's really important in all of us. And it's the unwillingness that keeps breaking these relationships. And so when I find myself that I'm out of depth, when I know that, oh my gosh, I have no clue what I'm doing, I seek advice of somebody who I hope knows.
Okay, that's good.
Oftentimes it turns out that they don't have a clue. They're just pretending that they are a professional, or that they know, or that they should know. Because when I remember when I came for advice to my father, he acted as though he knew, but he had no clue. He was just faking it. And later it just broke the relationship that he and I had. And we had to work way later when I finally figured out that he was the broken one, that we could fix.
Thursday night, Ben Johns is our coach on Thursday nights, and he's our mental strategy coach. And he was talking about, how do we manage toxic relationships around us? Sometimes you can't remove the toxic person because they're in your family. But he was talking about, how do you not let that impact your competition, right? And he competes in bull riding, PBR. We compete with horses. And he said something about that. I'm trying to remember. Lori, do you remember how he said that? Martin, you just said something that triggered it, and now I've lost it. But I was like, man, that is.
I can't remember, but I think you took notes. So let me pull it up. It had to
do with being coachable, I think.
Oh, people. That's it. He said, a lot of people genuinely want to help you. And that's great. He said, you welcome that. He said, however, but there are going to be some people in your life that genuinely want to help you, but unfortunately they can't. They don't have the ability or the experience to actually help you. And you got to discern who those people are. Thanks, Ben Johns. Leanna, I'm going to hand it back to you before we start landing this plane.
Well, I think all of this conversation is so important, and I can see where it's going to lead to many more different topics of conversations. But I would say this: the encouragement that I bring into hearing these conversations is that I think we all agree that all behavior is a form of communication. And in my world is that behavior is a communication, and we're looking for what's the unmet need. And if someone or some person or some animal is unwilling, then I have to ask myself the question, what's the fear? What's the fear of being perceived as if you don't know it all? And we might not ever know the answer, because I might be in contact with somebody that, maybe my contact is 1 session or 2 sessions, and I might not be able to ever identify that, but myself holding that understanding that there's an unmet need. Let's discover that together, and believe that if that animal is with you and there's an unmet need, that we can develop either the tools to meet that need, that we'll find it together. And that's the key thing, is that when you feel like you're together, like with community, one of the best definitions of trauma is Peter Levine's. He said it is when something that has happened that is so overwhelming to your nervous system, and you feel unwitnessed, you feel alone.
Mm-hmm.
That's why communities like Stall High, the community aspect of this it's vital. And I'm so thankful that you've put that together, because, you're right. We don't know what, toxic people are just in our world, they're in our life, but digging in and to be part of these kinds of conversations, we carry that with us into the round pen. We carry that with us into our next interaction after we get off the phone, or with that beautiful animal that's now in that sense of safety, right? He's gonna, I actually cannot wait to follow that story of what ends up happening to him.
Mm-hmm.
So
Oh, yeah.
still a FY. But anyway, yeah, that's what I would add.
So for people who are just watching, and maybe they didn't catch you the first week you were a guest here at Stall Talk. So tell us a little more about your background. You mentioned a few minutes ago something about, we may not accomplish that in 1 or 2 sessions. What
Right.
does that mean? What's your day job?
My day job for the last 2 decades as I'm a clinical therapist. So I've worked with children and families. I've worked with level 5 kids of the state way back in the day. And I've worked with trauma, PTSD, adoptions. And here in the last 3 to 4 years, it's been working creatively, working with people who are in the creative field. So peak performance work, which at the end of the day, a nervous system is a nervous system, right? And because people go, how can you work with all have this varied background? I'm like, I think it's because the way in which I was taught and mentored, I always say this, I stand on the shoulder of giants. It's not me. It's just how I've been, the opportunities and the people I've been gifted to be able to learn from, is that communication happens nervous system to nervous system, right brain to right brain. If you stay open to this kind of communication, what needs to emerge, the unmet need will appear. And together you explore that. And through that interaction, that's the repair. And so then again, it goes back to Dr. Ed Tronick's work, which I can probably list a whole bunch of different books, not that everybody has to read them, but they're just kind of nice to know that they're there.
Well, we definitely want to
How do
repair
you
because
spell that name? I have a hard time spelling Dr. Ed Tronick.
I know. I'm going to spell it phonetically. TRONICK. Dr. Ed Tronick. And if you put Ed Tronick rupture and repair, his book will come. I think his book is called Resilience. It'll come right up.
Okay. Repair and resilience.
Yes. Beautiful work. So thankful.
We need resilience if we're going to compete in professional rodeo.
Yes. We need resilience for life and the rodeo.
Yep. And the whole, what you said just a moment ago about, I feel like when we're stuck in the stall and we don't have answers, like there's a lot missing, but we don't know what to do about it. And we don't know who to talk to. We just reopen those wounds. We re-injure every time we saddle up. And that's what, like, you're either adding value or you're taking away value when you ride. If you're not aware of that, you just keep repeating and repeating for that horse another emotional injury on top of another emotional injury on top of another emotional injury. And that's what we want to break the cycle, just by speaking up as an advocate for the horse and supporting the riders. I don't want anyone to feel judged or condemned, but I want you to feel empowered to go make a change. Try something different. And if it works better, by all means, use it and apply it, and then go share it.
Yep. Awesome.
Thanks for being part. Martin, will you re-explain a little bit about the pearls? We talked
Oh,
again
yeah.
about that last week. We're fascinated with water.
Okay, so here's a glass of water, and
Okay.
on the bottom of it, there are these two things that look like ceramic bits, and they are like that. I could fish it out if you want, but anyway, we make that with ceramics, and we bake into it what's known as laminar crystal. It's a form of mica, and that thing interacts with water in such a way that it discharges built up electric potential that is causing water to cluster into large clumps. And these larger clumps are unable to pass through the teeny little openings. I can't put my fist through this little opening that are allowing water to come into the cell. So when I break up these clumps of water molecules that are holding tight together because of the static charge, all of a sudden they become small enough to pass through this opening. And
Hey, so Julie and I were wondering, how does this work? Like, we understand it's going to make us feel better, and we've heard different things about it. We want to learn more, but you just brought the scientific explanation so that we can process the information and go, now I have a visual.
right, the visual
Yeah.
is that the water will get inside of cells. This is the difference between irrigation, water flowing by, and hydration, water getting in.
Yeah. I just got my stuff today, Martin, or I started it today. I got it last night. So we
Awesome.
started this morning. So excited.
Let's start.
I think I feel better.
It doesn't take too long. I remember when I first started on that technology, I drank excessively for 3 weeks. I just drank and I drank and I drank and I peed and I peed and I peed. And it was amazing. All of the water that was stored in my body was being replaced by this better structured water. And
Interesting.
after about 3 weeks, it kind of was done. It was done, and I resumed looking more hydrated than I used to.
So you were dehydrated and didn't know it.
Well, yeah. And so, for example, I took a trip just a weekend away from home. My wife was picking me up at the airport on Sunday night or whatever it was. And I says, honey, do you have some Prill water with you? And she handed me this thing, and I turned it upside down, like into my face like this, and I emptied the whole thing into me. I was feeling so parched, having missed it for 3 days because I didn't bother taking stuff with me. So
Good.
that was an example of it. I had a farmer from Australia tell me that she put these cupcakes, they're the bigger ones, I'll show you. This is the device that shows the sizes of these different gadgets that we make. So the big fat one is called cupcake. This is the large pearl at the next, and medium, and the small. So we have different sizes of these things. You can pick them up. The small ones go inside a bottle opening of a small bottle and so on, whatever, they're convenient. So anyway, she bought a bunch of these cupcakes and put them in the horse's trough. And she said, these guys, they usually just come in the morning, drink a bit of water, and disappear into the bush for the day. This is Australian bush. She said after she put the cupcakes in, the horses lasted for about a week. They would not leave the trough. They would drink some, walk away a little bit, come right back for another drink, and so on and so on. Just kept on drinking. After about a week, they had enough. And then they started to resume their old regular life.
Okay. It's good stuff. Shelley, you have a question.
Yes, I had started drinking distilled water a couple of months ago, and I can tell the difference. So if I do these pearls, do I need to use regular, like, bottled water for this, or
No. Use the distilled. It will restructure and reform the distilled.
Oh, okay. Okay, thank you.
Good to know. Martin, thank you so much for being here every week. Thanks for sponsoring Stall Talk so that we can have these discussions and continue taking responsibility as writers. And I love that it's we don't do this in a shaming way or a condemning way, but in a supportive way. So if you feel like there's something missing in your relationship with your horse, in the results with your horse, in the performance of your horse, it is so easy to download the Stall High app and get started today. Here's the brand, Stall High. You can search for that in the App Store, in Google Play. It is a free download. There, once you're in the Stall High app, you can look for online training. That's where you're going to find information about the mentor program to be a part of our daily classes. Every night at 6 p.m., we have a different expert who comes in and shares their lifetime of expertise and helping riders problem solve and get results. And part of our group is here. Taylor, are you at a place where you can interject and say something really quick? You just made a nice comment about valuable information and thanking everybody. And you're kind of new to our mentor membership.
Yes, I mean, it's just a wealth of knowledge there. And I know other people, you know, in the interactive membership call it priceless. And it truly is, because it just, I mean, you're sitting there and just like light bulbs are going off each time, you know, somebody speaks and says something that you're just like, wow, that makes so much sense, but I never thought of it that way.
So I'm curious, was your husband surprised? I don't know if he was listening to Matt Reeves talk.
He does listen in sometimes when he's able to, and he'll sit there and he'll be like, I agree with that. I agree with that. And I'm like, I know, it's just like, it's mind blowing for him too, when we get to talking about it later.
Well, I'm curious if that's going to help him make decisions on amateur versus circuit rodeos this year. Because I thought Matt, I mean, he answered that better than I've ever heard anybody answer your question.
Yes, and that it did make a whole lot of sense. You know, he's got two younger horses. He lost his good horse, so he's going to be rethinking and trying to see if they're mentally ready to step into that. And then I think if he feels like they are, then he's going to try to go for it again.
Well, we're happy you're part of this community, part of our mentor program. Leanna, thank you so much. Leanna Ray, we'd love to have you back. I would love to do a series actually and do a deeper dive on this, because you're throwing stuff at us we've never heard before. Julie Castaneda, thank you for everything you brought to the roundtable discussion today.
I was glad to be here.
Just awesome. And Martin, thank you so much. Lori, thank you for chiming in. This has been a great stall talk. I'm excited to do it all again. I'm excited for class tonight at 6 o'clock. Guys, if you're watching right now live or you're watching a replay, it's very easy to be a part of what we're doing. Download the Stall High app and then follow your way to learn about online training and mentor program, and to get your hands on those little pearls that Martin is talking about. They look like garlic to me, but I'm excited to have some of my own. Each time I hear you talk about them, I'm like, that's on my list. I need to do that. I need to order that. I need to order that. I'm going to order that. Yeah. Because I don't want to be the person who says I was dehydrated and didn't know it. If that's the one thing holding me back, or a thing holding me back, now that I have that information, I'm responsible for taking action. So thank you, Martin.
Thank you.
There's a link provided, guys. So Lori has provided that link. It will take you straight to Martin's website, and you can find out about all of his amazing products, and also look into his diagnostic tool. If you want to find out what's missing in your health, if you feel like crap and you don't know why, here's the guy you need to talk to, Martin Patella of Life Enthusiast. Everybody, thank you so much for being part of Stall Talk, and I'll see you next week.
Thank you.
You guys.
Bye. See you soon.